I'm curious. I've been sick or so for the past couple, the past couple weeks or so, so I didn't really catch on the Johnny Somali thing. But I'm very curious to see what happened in South Korea with Johnny Somali. I didn't see the last video about this. Like I said, got sick, and well, But I just kind of want to see what's been happening. I'm so curious. I'm very curious. You piqued my interest. It's been a hot minute, though. Isn't this like his last court case or something like that? Or court hearing or whatever? I kind of forgot already.
Oh boy. So we just got out of the Johnny Somali October 29th trial date, and it's safe to say he's going to be stuck here for a lot longer. Obviously, Johnny has been facing 8 charges for a while now. 2 deepfake charges, 4 business disruption charges, and 2 misdemeanors. But as we found out in last week's court date, Johnny ended up suing Yoon for assault with a baton, deepfakes, and stalking. Or, well, technically he was pressing charges against him. And I mean, that may or may have not happened because, we have video of it. So they ended up settling that case, and in the settlement, they both dropped their charges on each other. So Johnny traded 3 charges dropped for 1 with Yoon. And there's no real reason for why that wouldn't be accepted, so we're just gonna assume that one of those deepfake charges are gone, leaving him with 7 charges left and a maximum sentence potential of roughly 12 years, and a minimum sentence of 2 years. But there's one big problem for him, because they need the streamer by the name of Bong Bong to testify, and to put it lightly, she doesn't care.
So today's trial, here's the 3 characters involved. Johnny, Bong Bong, and Youngman. Johnny needs no introduction anymore, as everyone knows him as the dude who acts like he has a room temperature IQ. He's been harassing people on the street abroad for content for a couple of years now for quote-unquote fame and money.
Why are you bullying people in other countries? For money, for clout.
But in reality, he makes less than a minimum wage worker in the state of Georgia and lives in a bunk bed with the last person on earth who barely tolerates him, Hank Yu. Allegedly, Johnny owes him roughly $30,000 because he doesn't have any money and completely relies on Hank to live. Hank is also currently banned from the United States, but that's just like a whole nother story. This whole story, though, is just like the slowest and most dragged out train wreck that makes it very clear to never harass strangers on the street and disrespect people's cultures for your content, as clearly it backfired massively. Now, for the other 2. Youngman, we mentioned in my last video. He's one of the 4 Korean IRL streamers who wanted to make sure Johnny didn't harass more people for content. So they kept tabs on where he was, and when he acted out, they checked him multiple times. But the clip where Johnny ended up running for his life, that was Youngman, who disarmed Hank and chased him around with Hank's baton. And doing so while streaming was incredibly stupid, but then for some reason he decided to live stream himself throwing multiple bricks through the courthouse windows during the time South Korea was under martial law. So he ended up being tried alongside of 60 other people in an expedited trial and thrown into prison. And this became massive leverage for Johnny, as they ended up settling last week after Johnny pressed charges against Youngman for the incident that we mentioned earlier, as they agreed to drop the charges on each other. Then finally, you have Bong Bong, a Korean streamer who's gained a following in the gutters of the internet, because from everything I've seen of her, something's off. But she decided to stream with Johnny last year. Instantly regretted it, because after the stream, he lied and bragged about them being together and showed the deepfake of them kissing on his stream while bragging. And what's important is he did so in a very humiliating way. He was like, haha, look at this, look at we did. What we'll later find out is he claims that he didn't do it in a humiliating way, but unfortunately he live streamed himself doing so. So because Johnny yet again is his own star witness against himself, it made it very easy for Bong Bong to go to the police station, press charges, and now this is a serious offense in Korea. And because of that one single charge, he's now facing a decade in prison over there. And that's what the trial we're covering today is all about.
But first, I want to talk about today's sponsor, Cooper. Because
wow, oh my god, that's a crazy advertisement. Oh my god. Anyways.
Continue.
All right, so it's 11:55 in the morning, 29th of October, 2025.
You know the craziest thing about it? This guy flew over to Korea not once, but I think, what, is it twice or so? Or is it 3 times? He flew over to Korea to watch the Johnny Somali case, dude. Honestly. Hey man, you know what? Hey man, you grab your bag, bro. You do the hustle, bro. You farm Johnny Somali, man. He is that clout goblin or so that you can farm, get some good views. Cause I know he did pop off pretty well or so with the Johnny Somali issues that was happening from Japan, and then from Japan, and then he went to somewhere in the Middle East or so, and then he went to South Korea.
You're in Seoul, South Korea, trying to get in some last minute electrolytes. I completely forgot my glasses at home, so that's smart. So we're gonna be rocking without glasses today. Thankfully, I don't need them that much. We just need some coffee, and we're gonna cover this trial, and we'll be fine. Originally, we're supposed to have 3 testimonies today. It was supposed to be
Hey, yo, is that Tectone
Johnny,
in the back?
Hank, and Bong Bong. But as we found out from watching Bong Bong's streams the other night, in quote, she said, "My lawyer told me I don't have to go. I don't care. I don't want to waste my time for Johnny Somali." Okay. But then, obviously, someone said, "Hey, you might have to pay a 5 million won fine," which is roughly like, I think it's like $3,500 or something like that. So then she said, "I don't know. Maybe should just go."
What the fuck? It really does look like Tectone in the back.
Worst case, just talk to lawyer. I heard you could submit a reason for your absence. Worst case, we need to get a flight.
This is apparently what she said on stream when she found out it was a bad idea that she traveled to Australia last minute.
The Johnny Somali trial
What?
testimony. I don't know. I'm talking to a lawyer, but they didn't answer. Lawyer said that I don't have to, but just in case I will go to airport. I don't know. Ah, it's so annoying. I think I don't have to, isn't it? I need to pay the fine. If I don't know, I have to pay the fine or not. There is a paper, like absence paper. I can send the absence paper, they said. The fine is 5,000 Australian dollar maximum, I think. I don't think I have to pay that much for that. That's too much. Seriously, too much.
Like, it wasn't until after she found out she was committing a crime and could get hit with heavy fines that she realized, oh, this might be a bad idea. Okay, yep. This entire case just has a whole group of fascinating people, to put it lightly.
So we got to court, and this is what
Interesting.
happened according to our notes. At 1:51, the prosecutor enters the courtroom. All indications show that the prosecutor is intending to use the massive TV that is inside there, possibly to show evidence.
Of course.
However, if witness testimony is canceled, that might not happen. And shortly after, the bailiff started talking about calling Hank to see where he is. At 1:57 p.m., they're all setting up the monitor, connecting it to the computer. A second prosecutor is now in the room, making sure the setup is ready. The prosecutor plans to show the video. The bailiff then asks if any witnesses are in the room. Then shortly after, Johnny's lawyer peeks into the courtroom just like last time, checking if he's here, and then he leaves. So at 1:58 p.m., we find out that Youngman is actually in the building. So that's showing us that there's going to be a testimonial from him, even though they settled. At 1:59 p.m., Johnny and Hank and the lawyers enter the court and sit at the front row. Both are wearing black suits, and Johnny is carrying a smoothie or something like that. At 2 p.m., the lawyer is consulting with the interpreter. And this time, we also notice that Korean press is here. Last time, they didn't show up. But just after 2, the judge enters the court, and the judge reads out the case number and calls Ramzi Khalid Ismail to the defendant's stand. Johnny carries a backpack and an empty Starbucks cup. At 2:03 p.m., Ramzi pulls out a pile of documents from his backpack. The lawyer is submitting his written opinion on evidence. This is basically just his argument for his innocence. And the judge receives it and glances at it. Because yesterday, the defense counsel submitted his opinion regarding the settlement. The judge asked the lawyer about the evidence, and the lawyer says the only new addition to the evidence is the settlement with Youngman. The defendant denies charges of deepfake, saying there was no intent. He also claims that the materials cannot be used as humiliation. He admits the distribution, but denies that it can cause harm in the form of shame. The prosecutor then submits evidence. Witness Bong Bong is not present today, as we kind of expected, honestly, because, you know, she's in Australia. And apparently she sent in a formal request saying that she wanted to attend after about a month. Then at 2:11 p.m., the first witness, Youngman, is going to take the stand. Youngman chose to make his testimony private, so we won't be hearing his testimony. Hank apparently will also give a private testimony, and the courtroom has been cleared. We're all waiting outside at this point. Everyone left the courtroom, and this kind of left Hank hanging, like right outside the court door, and it seems like he requested to be put back into witness protection, which was kind of odd because, I mean, no one even went up to him. No one was trying to, like, clip farm him. I see no point in trying to clip farm Hank. Our speculations is Youngman is likely going to give a pretty neutral testimony that will neither help nor hurt Johnny, and we later found out that Youngman is not the one who requested the private testimony, that it was actually the judge's decision. At 3:51 p.m., the courtroom is reopened to the public, and the testimony lasted approximately 1 hour and 40 minutes. The lawyer makes the 30-minute argument where Johnny essentially denies obstruction of business at Lotte World because Lotte World claimed that he stopped the ride for 30 minutes. In reality, it was like 10 to 15 minutes, so he just denies the whole claim, but he's already pleaded guilty to that charge, so it doesn't make sense why they're trying to negate it right now. The lawyer then also said that, hey, the Lotte World charges of the whole child harassment, that was dropped, so That should be taken into consideration as well, according to the attorney of Johnny. So Johnny's attorney is trying to paint him out as innocent because that charge was dropped. But then they scheduled the next hearing for February 11th, 2026. And then Johnny, before the court could leave, he stands up and asks the judge if he can do an expedited trial. And he wants essentially a speedy trial since he has family and obligations in America. And the judge
I think he just wants to leave her so never come back.
immediately refused Johnny's request.
Of course.
So after the trial, I asked Johnny what his strategy was with all this, because all of this does not make sense. I don't understand why he's out here uploading videos of him actively harassing people in South Korea while he's currently on trial. But he wanted to do an actual interview. I don't want to give him an interview as he's already been interviewed a bunch. People know his story. They don't care about what he has to say. They just want to see the trial outcome. So I asked him to his face, like, why is he uploading videos on YouTube of him being disrespectful in Korea while he's in trial? But instead of giving me a straight answer, he just lashed out at me and insulted my family because it was obvious he was having an awful day and was trying to get some sort of reaction out of me.
We can just rewind and play the clip again. Because of money! Because of clout! Duh!
So hopefully he enjoys his extended stay out here in Korea, as his next trial date is out in February. So
Are you serious? So are you telling me that he's gonna stay here until 2026 in February? Man, dude, my God, dude. This has been going on for like a year now. Holy shit, man.
Christmas. But I asked one of my legal connections out here why he wasn't eligible for the expedited trial, and this was his response. So he said these would normally be reserved for simple and straightforward cases in which the defendant pleads guilty. Johnny didn't plead guilty to all charges. He's trying to fight this, so that makes the whole process take infinitely longer. A vast majority of these cases are also where the defendant is caught red-handed in the act, witnessed by police, and is arrested on the spot, and obviously is pleading guilty. But also, high-profile, high-stake cases, such as these right here, could also be expedited. For example,
Was it? Jail term. Ah, I see.
be expedited. For example, Jungmann's trial was expedited because he was one of the people who decided to throw a few bricks through the courthouse windows, along with the 62 others were actually charged. I don't know if 62 other people actually threw bricks through the courthouse window, but 62 people were charged in that case. And for that case, both of the above reasons applied, so it was easy to get an expedited trial for that. The riot took place in January and the trial started in March, and on August 1st,
you gotta be careful
he was
what you're
convicted.
saying, bro.
There were multiple court dates, roughly 8 to 10, but they
You
were
gotta
also
be
spaced out
careful.
by days instead of months. Johnny's claim of "I have family and other obligations" does not appear to be on that list of legally valid reasons to expedite a trial. Furthermore, the decision to expedite a case is determined by a committee before the trial starts, and the case number assigned, because expedited trials have a designated code attached to the case number. Expedited trials also require a panel of judges for fairness rather than one judge presiding over a case. And once a trial begins, it cannot be converted to an expedited trial. That is why they carefully make this determination before assigning the case number and
Yeah.
proceeding to trial. So Johnny will now be stuck here for a while, and if Bong Bong doesn't show up for the next trial, it can be delayed for another 3 months, and so on and so on. And the judge, in response to Johnny's trial expedition request, was that other foreigner trials have been going on for over 2 years, and that he's not special, so he too will just have to wait. So I mean, this is just one massive warning to never harass innocent people on the street and disrespect people's culture for just views online, because clearly
Well,
it
no,
is not
duh.
worth it, and Johnny is in the process of very slowly finding out. Also,
Oh, well, this guy definitely doesn't want to learn, to be honest, at the end of the day.
Happy Halloween. My son has me dressed up as a World War I fighter pilot because he's also a little pilot himself. And I also wanted to quickly say
Wait, he's a dad? I didn't know he was a dad. What the hell? Damn, man, Jesus Christ. Fuck, I'm getting old.
hey, this is basically your last chance to get the limited edition Mad City.
That's crazy, though. Honestly, okay, so wait, so he's gonna have another court hearing in February? Is this for one of the deepfakes, or is this a different charge? Because I was just kind of like a little bit baffled. Because I thought this was his last. I thought this was his last court hearing. I didn't think it was. Probably I must have missed some information in the last video. That's probably the reason why. But that's crazy though. Was not really expecting that. Well, this is what happens when you fuck around and you find out, basically, you know? You mess around with the wrong types of people and look what you get, you know? My question is, and my curiosity is, what's he gonna do? What he gonna do now? So, he's stuck there in South Korea until February of next year. Well, we'll be back here again in February 2026, and we'll see what's going on with Mr. Johnny Somali. And see, I'm hoping that's the last one. To see if it'll like completely like end it all, you know. Because to be honest, I just kind of want to hear the actual like the end of this courtness with Johnny, like his court hearings and everything, like the finalized thing and everything. So I'm just curious. I want to see what it is. I'm just kind of like, oh, I want to know. Let me know, man. Is this guy gonna get jailed or not? You know? But yeah. Anyways. You can also comment, like, subscribe, do all that fancy jazzy stuff. Also, subscribe. We're almost to 20K. We're at 17K and we're almost there, and I'm trying to see if I can get to 20K at least by the end of the year. So let me know. You gotta hit that subscribe button. Come on, man. Support your girl out here, you know? Support your girl so we can make some better content in the future. That's one of my goals or so that I want to do, is make some other different types of content. But I got my hands tied right now because I'm in the middle of working in a video game right now. So, but yeah. Anyways, that's the end of the video. And peace.